Burt Lancaster was one of the most magnetic figures of Hollywood's golden age, a man whose strength, elegance, and screen presence turned him into a legend. But behind the bold performances and the public image of rugged masculinity, Lancaster carried private truths he could only reveal late in life. In this story, we'll explore the remarkable life and secret romantic entanglements of one of Hollywood's greatest stars, Burt Lancaster, born Burton Stephen Lancaster on November 2, 1913, in New York City. Grew up in a modest working-class family. Before Hollywood ever discovered him, Lancaster's world revolved around the circus. As a young man, he trained as a trapeze acrobat, performing with grace and athleticism that would later become a defining feature of his screen persona. This background wasn't just a childhood hobby. It shaped his entire approach to acting. His athletic skill gave him an authenticity on screen that few of his peers could match. He performed many of his own stunts, bringing a physical intensity that set him apart during the 1940s and 1950s. His entry into Hollywood came in the 1940s, when his striking good looks, commanding stature, and natural charisma drew attention. His breakthrough role arrived with The Killers in 1946, where he portrayed a doomed ex-boxer. The performance launched him into stardom, proving he could bring depth and emotional complexity to traditionally tough, masculine roles. Lancaster wasn't content to simply play by the studio system's rules. In the 1950s, he co-founded Hecht Hill Lancaster Productions, alongside Harold Hecht and James Hill. This move was revolutionary at the time, giving him creative control in an industry dominated by powerful studios. Through this company, Lancaster produced films that broke away from Hollywood's usual formula. Marty, 1955, won the Academy Award for Best Picture, while Separate Tables, 1958, explored complex emotions and social themes. He wasn't just a performer, he was shaping cinema itself. His acting career flourished and accolades followed. Lancaster won his first Oscar for Elmer Gantry in 1960, delivering a magnetic performance as a morally conflicted preacher. He earned another Oscar for Birdman of Alcatraz in 1962, portraying a convicted killer who finds redemption through caring for birds. Off-screen, Lancaster stood apart from many of his peers. He was outspoken in his support for civil rights and social justice during a period when Hollywood stars often stayed silent. He and his second wife, Norma Anderson, were deeply involved in political activism. Their home was a hub of civic engagement, filled with printing presses and materials for voter education campaigns. They supported the League of Women Voters and the NAACP, and notably hosted a fundraiser for Martin Luther King Jr. and the Southern Christian Leadership Conference before the 1963 March on Washington. Lancaster wasn't afraid to use his fame to support causes he believed in, which earned him respect from both fans and peers. Lancaster's personal life was as complex as his career. He was married 3 times and had 5 children, each chapter reflecting different sides of the man behind the icon. His first marriage was to Yoon Ernst, a fellow acrobat from a renowned circus family. Their shared world of performance shaped his early years, but by the late 1930s, their marriage had unraveled. Accounts differ on the exact divorce date. Some say 1940, while later research suggests as late as 1946. His second marriage, to Norma Anderson, began in 1946 and produced 5 children: Bill, James, Susan, Joanna, and Sagal Sheila Lancaster. Despite their shared activism, their marriage became strained under the weight of his career and personal pressures. They separated in 1966 and divorced in 1969. During the breakdown of that marriage, Lancaster entered a passionate but volatile relationship with Jackie Bone, a hairdresser he met while filming The Professionals. Their affair became infamous after an incident in which Bone smashed a wine bottle over his head at a dinner party attended by director Sidney Pollack and actor Peter Falk. Eventually, after Bone's religious conversion, the relationship ended. His third marriage, to Susan Martin, began in September 1990 and lasted until his death in 1994. It was a quieter partnership, marking the final chapter of his life. In his later years, Lancaster reportedly opened up to close friends about a deeply personal aspect of his life, his secret romantic connections with several prominent men during Hollywood's golden era, in a time when being gay or bisexual could end a career overnight. These relationships were hidden behind closed doors. Yet they reveal a different, more vulnerable side of the Hollywood legend. Cary Grant, one of the most elegant leading men of the era, was among those Lancaster described. Their relationship began in the late 1940s, away from public eyes. Grant, who had long shared a home with actor Randolph Scott, was famously private. Their connection was described as electric but cautious, unfolding during discreet weekends in secluded beach houses along the Pacific Coast Highway. The affair was brief. Grant retreated further into privacy, fearing exposure. Even more startling was Lancaster's account of a brief, complex encounter with J. Edgar Hoover, the powerful FBI director. Hoover, rumored for decades to have had a secret relationship with Clyde Tolson, moved in elite Hollywood circles due to his control over media portrayals of law enforcement. Lancaster described their connection as rooted in power, secrecy, and Hoover's own internal conflicts. Lancaster also shared memories of a tender, emotionally charged relationship with Rock Hudson in the early 1950s. At the time, Hudson was under strict studio control and lived in fear of being outed, a fear that was only acknowledged publicly after his death from AIDS in 1985. Away from the cameras, they would escape on long desert road trips, enjoying fleeting weekends where they could simply be themselves. The most unexpected revelation involved Ricky Nelson, the teen idol from the adventures of Ozzie and Harriet. In the early 1960s, Lancaster, then a seasoned star, shared a brief but intense connection with the much younger Nelson. Lancaster later described him with great tenderness, the boy who sang like a breeze and kissed with the hunger of someone who had never been allowed to want. Finally, there was Marlon Brando, a relationship Lancaster called volcanic. They met in the late 1950s at a politically charged Hollywood gathering. Their affair was marked by ego clashes, intellectual debates, and raw chemistry. Brando's fearless fluidity both challenged and captivated Lancaster. It lasted on and off for several years before secrecy and conflicting personalities drove them apart. Burt Lancaster passed away on October 20th, 1994, at 4:50 a.m., following his third heart attack. His ashes were scattered beneath an oak tree in Westwood Memorial Park, California. As he wished, no public memorial or funeral was held. In revealing these deeply personal stories near the end of his life, Lancaster wasn't seeking shock or scandal. He was, perhaps for the first time, unburdening himself of decades of secrecy. Beneath the swashbuckling hero image was a man who loved deeply, sometimes recklessly, always quietly. Burt Lancaster's story isn't just about Hollywood glamour or hidden affairs. It's about a man who constantly pushed against the walls around him, in art, politics, and love. His life reminds us that behind the spotlight, every legend carries untold stories.